My kudos to the author of the original map. I think you're amazingly irregular in a good sort of way. I sure wish more people would quantify their thinking so that other people could look at it and understand what somebody else thought they understood. For the model itself, it's an amazing piece of work, though I'm not sure that I've ever seen anything with so many reinforcing structures and no balancing loops. Though going through all of the loops, in other words, I forked the model and I added some things. I added some controls. I added this so that I could look at the individual loops, and I added popovers so that I could read the labels without needing a magnifying glass. And then, then I went to add loops and detect loops automatically, and I went through and I labeled all the loops. By doing that, and the way that I tend to label my loops is 01R, 02R, because if I label them that way, using this part of the showcase structure of Kumu, it creates all these dots along the bottom. And by using those dots, you can then go ahead and say, okay, there's a loop, there's a loop, there's a loop. And if you figure out the sequencing that you really want to use to tell a story, you can unfold this piece by piece by piece. Now, notice that it's currently set up so that every time you click one, the other one goes away. Well, if you go over here and change this to multiple equals true, true, save it, you can actually unfold this piece by piece so that it'll add a piece, another piece, and another piece. So if you figure out how you really want to tell the story by sequencing the loops in the appropriate order, you can unfold this model and tell a story and build the set of relationships piece by piece. Though, depending upon, by the time you get to loop 10, that way it's often confusing as to what loop 1 was. And I often set this to false so I can actually look at the individual loops and study them to see if they're consistent. And going through this model, amazingly, all of the loops, which are all reinforcing loops, which messed my mind a bit, they all hang together well in terms of looking at the relationships. So, well done. I need to study it some more, and I'll include a link to this particular model in the video, which I would encourage you to fork again and make it your own and fill in, well, label the loops in the order that you'd like to tell the story, and then go ahead and add descriptions for the loops so that when someone moused over them, it gave them a name and a description for that particular loop so that they could figure out what what the individual pieces meant. In other words, I applied labels based upon what the loop initially seemed to make sense to me, though there is no way that I can get into your head and figure out what it was that you were actually thinking when you built the loop. So my comments, and hopefully you find the tweaking of some utility, and as I said initially, kudos, well done. Thank you.